This is America.
America be on some other shit.
My journey began in August of 2013 while at my downtown office in Columbia, South Carolina. I encountered some wonderful human beings without homes, and one day I learned that Columbia City Council had a plan to combat the homeless situation. But something was very unusual. They had 3 options, and one option was jail. So I decided to do something. I own a production company. I have all the tools. I can document what's actually going on around me. I wanted to hear from the people who were affected, so I started this journey to educate the masses about what's going on in Columbia, South Carolina, and across the world.
We have been documenting the criminalization of homelessness almost since our founding in 1989. We started with 9 cities. The most comprehensive one is called Housing Not Handcuffs. We looked at 10 years worth of data and tracked the increase from 2006 to 2016. And it's been growing. It's a growing trend. But criminalization of homelessness is part of a bigger trend of criminalization of poverty, criminalization of marginalized communities.
They're emotionless. The apathy rules. So when they look at these people who have lost everything, they say to themselves, if I leave you alone, you are going to suffer. You're going to be homeless. You won't know where you can get food to eat or a place to stay. But if I put you into that jail cell, you're going to make this community $30,000 a year, and you'll be beneficial to everybody. That's how they're looking at it. We're no longer human beings. We're just property.
Those who hunger for freedom, who thirst for human dignity, and who suffer for the sake of justice, they are the patriots of this cause. I believe with all my heart that America must always stand for these basic human rights.
If we really dig into deinstitutionalization, that came from the Kennedy administration. The Kennedy administration saw some of the horrible abuses that were happening in mental institutions, and everybody probably at this point has seen the video of warehouse situations where people were sprayed with water hoses just because of their mental illness. We couldn't, as a country, have that.
Almost every American family at some stage will experience or has experienced a case of mental affliction. And we have to offer something more than crowded custodial care in our state institutions. Our task is to prevent these conditions. Our next is to treat them more effectively and sympathetically in the patient's own community. I hope the Congress will act on this bill.
When the idea was had to close mental institutions, this is not an appropriate place for people to live and spend their lives, that you would reintegrate folks into the community. You would give them housing, you would give them social supports, there would be ongoing support offered through the community. That didn't happen. And that's why a lot of people went out to the streets, because they weren't given the housing or they weren't given the social supports that were promised when those mental institutions were closed.
And so instead of waiting until the other institutions were built, we closed the larger facilities without alternatives. And now the result is that our outreach workers and the criminal justice system are dealing with people with mental health issues that they don't have any solutions for. And so that is certainly a huge problem within the homeless population, especially the chronically homeless population.
It's not a mystery. There were drastic cutbacks, and this was initiated by the Reagan administration. It was the goal of President Reagan to shrink the footprint of the federal government. And that meant cutting federal funding and programs that had been in place since the New Deal. So it was a very different idea about government and about our country. And so one of the programs that took the biggest hit was housing. Low-income housing programs was drastically cut in the early 80s. Other kinds of programs, everything from cash assistance to poor families, to food stamps, to disability benefits, all of those were tightened so that fewer people could get them. And so, this, on top of gentrification that had happened in the 70s, just squeezed people out of their housing. Literally, people who were very poor and most vulnerable bore the brunt of this, and homelessness just exploded in the early to mid 80s across the country.
I certainly do not agree that there's only 500,000 people homeless. If you take into account all the people that are homeless, people living doubled up, people that are living on someone's couch or in some abandoned building, homelessness has probably doubled since the time in the early 2000s when we thought that there were 3 million people there. I think that there's a lot more people. And when I've gone to federal agencies and elected officials and I said, we need to do a better job of counting people, because if we don't have the true number, we really can't address the problem. What I've heard from them in response is that if people knew the true number of homeless people, if we documented that true number of homeless people, we don't have the resources to address the problem. And that is a statement directly from an elected official. I would say the number's closer to 6 million. You won't hear that number from anybody else, probably.
This world is selfish, isn't it? I got some problems, homie, I hope you can help me with them. I think I need a blessing, stuck inside a deep depression. And ever since an adolescence, I've been adding lessons. But hold up, wait, I got a question. How we supposed to strive for success if we ain't got no address? I got a question. How we supposed to sit and reflect if we ain't got no address? I got a question. How we supposed to build assets if we ain't got no address? I got a question. How we supposed to get licensed if we ain't got no address? I got a question. How we get a job? That's next. If we ain't got no address, I got a question. How you supposed to see my duress? If you don't see me, I'm invisible. Damn.
Things like sleeping on a park bench, eating on sidewalks, or congregating in public spaces, all crimes. This would, in effect, criminalize homelessness.
My name is Sean Sweet, and I've been homeless now for 7 months.
I've been homeless off and on for 13 years.
I became homeless in February of this year due to mental and physical abuse.
And I'm one of the ones that say it would never happen to me. Look where I'm at today.
Cities across the country have tried to deal with the problem of homelessness through an ingenious, out-of-sight, out-of-mind approach. Instead of addressing the systematic reasons for rampant poverty, city lawmakers are trying to eliminate the problem by forcing the homeless out of city centers and the public eye.
Y'all need to come with me.
Okay. Y'all know this is private property, right?
No, we didn't know that. Now, repeat, if y'all get caught back here again, y'all are going to jail for trespass because this is private property. All right? All right.
I done went to jail down here in Raleigh, North Carolina 4 times since I've been down here. 1 for sleeping in a public area, a park on a bench. I can't sleep with the squirrels now. Okay. I was down there sleeping on the bus stop. Citation. Now these citations says this. I have to go to court. Now, in my travels, I'm not gonna waste my time going to court. So now I have an FTA, a failure to appear, and then when they see me again, I'm humiliated because they sitting me on the curb, they putting the handcuffs behind my back for sleeping on the bus stop and in a park. You know?
They're called ordinances, but they're usually city laws that make it a crime to sleep in public, to sit in public, to lie down in public, to sleep in a car, to beg for help, to eat sometimes in public. I mean, they just take a variety of different forms.
South Carolina's capital is cracking down on the homeless. Columbia City Council approved a plan dubbed the Homeless Emergency Response Plan earlier this month that makes being homeless illegal in parts of the city. The law makes people who sleep outdoors go to a shelter on the outskirts of town. And if they don't do that, then they'll be forced out of town or sent to jail.
In 2013, an effort led by one of our former councilmen, who's since been defeated, sought to provide some type of structure to the way in which the city dealt with homelessness. It was not, I'm not sure if it was completely well thought out, and even though it may have provided some type of a comprehensive approach, it lacked a significant amount of compassion.
It's a very emotional issue. It's an issue that we have stumbled over for 30 years in this city.
Earlier this month, City Council voted unanimously to approve a proposal by Councilman Cameron Runyon that would open the city's winter shelter around the clock for roughly 6 months. The proposed plan would also beef up police around the business district and the road to the shelter. Police could make arrests under public nuisance laws for loitering and trespassing. Residents will also have a hotline they could call if they spot a homeless person downtown. Opponents say this type of treatment violates human rights and is clearly police profiling.
When the city council decided that the way to make them invisible was to make their existence illegal, it made us really mad.
You'll find Judy Turnipseed almost every Sunday in Finlay Park feeding the homeless. She is the founder of Food Not Bombs in Columbia, South Carolina, and is on the board of HHH, Homeless Helping Homeless, which played a huge role in expressing their opinions to Columbia City Council.
The city council was getting a lot of pressure from people who had businesses downtown. They decided that they wanted to make the homeless disappear. Rather than looking at what they could do to help the homeless no longer be homeless, they decided they wanted to make them invisible.
It was all over the news, all over every paper, radio station. I had phone calls from as far as Germany, where I served. Some friends of mine that's in Germany called and heard about it. I have some phone calls from all the way in DC from people that want to know what was going on.
Back in 2013, Jim Jones had this fantastic idea to encamp all the homeless people in an enclosure outside city limits in the woods somewhere. Of course, he would control all the funding for this. So I think a little money might be involved with this idea. And then Speaker Runyon jumped right on board of it, and they convinced Mr. Benjamin that this was the way to go.
So they had 3 options. They could go to the camp, and it was not a choice. But if they wouldn't go to the camp, then they would be put in jail, because they'd done something illegal like being homeless or loitering. So there were made-up reasons, and the police had to take them to jail, or they could leave town. So even if they'd been residents all their lives, they had to get on the bus and leave, go away. So just unbelievable, punitive things that were in that ordinance. Just, it was horrible.
You can criminalize, a lot of behavior, but a lot of these things are essential functions. You have to sleep. You can make it illegal to sleep on a bench, but when on any given night there aren't enough shelter spaces for the number of people who are unsheltered, where are they going to go? Criminalization and legislating away homelessness doesn't really work. You just shift the population from A to B, right? And when enough residents complain, and there's a rolling enforcement of these ordinances, and that just pushes the population to a different community until that's the next target for clearing out the camps or clearing out the parks. I don't think that really is effective. I think that working with the service providers and finding solutions on an individual basis is the only real way to tackle the issue. My opinion there, but you can try to criminalize as much of the behavior as you want, but when it comes down to it, people are going to need to sleep, they're going to need to use the bathroom, and when we don't provide those things, they're going to happen anyway.
When the decision came down in 2013 to criminalize homelessness, I mean, I really, I don't mean to laugh, but it was absurd. I just couldn't believe. I'm like, is that a real thing? Is that fake news? Is this a joke? I mean, seriously, like, how do you criminalize somebody's situation?
Well, at that time, what most people don't know, that homeless were already being rounded up downtown Columbia. So a lot of them fled to outlying areas, the other suburbs out, like over there by the VA hospital, Broad River Road, St. Andrews area. I mean, they were just trying to get away so they wouldn't have to be going to jail for being homeless. They even came out with an ordinance in Finley Park saying that you can only be in one spot in the park for 15 minutes. That they were arresting people for loitering in Finley Park. And I've always wondered how you loiter in a public park. So it was a major effort, and the homeless was confused and scared.
This park is all we got. If it wasn't for the people that come here and feed us, over half of us would be dead. Out hurting somebody else taking what they got. If you take this park away from this family here that comes here every day, sleep here every night, most of them don't have a choice but to do what they do because they're pushing us there.
We're being harassed. We can't be in the parks. We can't be at the bus transit stations. Law enforcement is subject to pull up on us and tell us, hey, you can't sit here, you can't stand there, you have to move on. Pretty much we had to be isolated into at least two areas. The transitions are either the winter shelter. We have to stay there. So it makes it difficult, to really get out and try to pursue employment or try to pursue any kind of thing that would give us substantial income or anything of that nature to rise above, the situation that we're in.
If somebody saw what they identified as a homeless person walking down the street, they called a dedicated line, telephone line, which went to the police where they could report, hey, I see a homeless person walking downtown. And the police were supposed to come and take the homeless person out to this retreat. Once they got to the retreat, they had to stay at the retreat. The only way they could leave is if they had an appointment to the doctor or to someplace where they could interview for a job or whatever. And then when they got through, they were taken back. They couldn't leave. And there was somebody to guard them so they couldn't walk and go to town. It only housed 240 people. And according to the count, there are 1,600 homeless people in Columbia. And there are probably more, and lots of people don't get counted. So that's one problem. And of course, the homeless include children, women, families, men. So that's pretty tough to put all of them together in a homeless shelter.
I think the reason why they wanted to criminalize homelessness is because of the fraud that they are in creating criminal records for people and forcing them into a situation in which they can actually financially benefit, which we call the penal institution. And also, when people come out of those places, the only places they can go is like temporary employment services. And these are the people that are making money off of people who get records that become homeless. And the only place that they can go is to stay in shelters. And when the shelters have their numbers up, they get more government money. So it's all about money.
Well, that's the problem. It's always about money. Everyone complains about money, but the money is going to be spent one way or another. It's just which pocket is it coming out of, right? So if you look at the number of people who are incarcerated and recognize that that person is incarcerated because they don't have a place to live, they don't have the appropriate services to help deal with any disabilities that they have, or that they're unable to find employment, right? The money that we spend housing them in jail could be better spent in providing those supportive services to get them independent. But I don't know, a lot of people have kind of a negative reaction to entitlements or benefits and think, why are we spending money on people who aren't taking care of themselves? But we are, or if every time we put them in jail, we're spending that money. We're just not getting them anywhere.
Criminalizing homelessness didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Understanding the psychology of homelessness and of poverty, I think, was the missing link. You know, there's a lot of addiction on the street, there's a lot of mental illness on the street, and people are hurting. So when you look at someone who's an addict, they carry around feelings of toxic shame, defeat, unworthiness. Addicts really don't need a reminder about how bad they are. They already feel bad. So I think that that whole notion of it being criminal wouldn't add anything positive to someone. So we're fulfilling their physical needs, and we're filling their backpack with what they need, providing the showers and the clothing and the laundry. But we can go a step further because we can concentrate on their spiritual needs as well. There's so much more to homelessness than just being without a home.
This poem right here is dedicated to Joyce Cornell. Joyce Cornell was a South Carolinian resident who was homeless and went to the hospital, had some ailments, and while she was at the hospital, I guess they called the cops or ran her name through something or another, and the police came to the hospital and arrested her. They took her to the jail, and she had sickle cell anemia, she had high blood pressure, she had all the things that a lot of us deal with on a regular basis. And they put her in this cell, and she immediately started vomiting. They gave her a garbage bag, said vomit in that. And they left her there after that for 27 hours, and she died for a lack of water. Lack of water, simple as that, dehydration. They were intravenously feeding her water at the hospital. They took her out and put her in jail, tossed her on the damn ground and let her die, and that is murder, and this is dedicated to her. So when I speak about these things, I realize I don't have any poetry today. I ain't got nothing to say that hasn't already been said. I ain't got nothing to read that hasn't already been read. And although I know some can hear me now, in the long run, when it's all done, most don't ever care anyway.
We decided to do something about it. And the first thing we did was We showed up. We showed up over and over and over again. Now, they made it very difficult for us to show up. First of all, they would have an agenda that was 2 pages long, and they always put us on the end of the agenda. So they would try to wait us out. The meeting would start at 6 o'clock. They wouldn't get to us till 10 o'clock. But we hung in there.
I remember taking a big stand in it with HHH and being at City Council constantly at public hearings, all the way to the organization that I know they had lots of groups that came in, including a lot of the USC students who helped and assist in the boycotting of it downtown. It was interesting because the goal was to arrest people who they recognized that were homeless downtown. And the boycott actually demonstrated that you can't tell who's homeless. And you were stigmatizing, and you were actually violating people's civil rights.
How can you find a job when you're locked up in the woods nonstop? That's when I decided it was time for me to truly start speaking out. I've always been a natural-born debater, not an arguer, a debater. There is a difference. I started attending city council meetings and speaking up against this whole idea. The day I realized I truly did have an influence was I was walking by the city hall, and suddenly 2 black SUVs with tinted windows pulled up and kind of cornered me off on the sidewalk there. And 2 men in very nice suits, obviously policemen, started wanting to talk to me. And I was feeling very uncomfortable, very cornered in the situation. Kind of sweating bullets, to tell you the truth. And luckily an old, not too bright buddy of mine came up, wanting to talk to these, join in the conversation. And I said, "Here, buddy, you talk to these fellas." And I was gone. But, I realized from that point on, I've done what I could do, and it's time to just stick with poetry and stay silent when it comes to city council.
We talked to the media. Now, that was really important. And Columbia was the meanest city in the country. And I mean, it really was. It was called that everywhere.
We were the group that designated South Carolina and Las Vegas and other cities as meanest cities. And as you see, that strategy does have an impact, but we need to do a lot more.
They took up all the benches in town so that nobody could sit down anywhere.
It all depends on what bench it is. You can't sit there. And then, you can be walking around and you can stand on the corner of Main Street or somewhere. They'll pull up. You got to move from there. You got to keep walking.
I could just only imagine, going to jail for not having a home, man. I think that would be very inhumane, very cruel, being that I know I've been to prison. And when I did time, I knew I needed to be there because it was a crime that I committed, and being now that I'm in the homeless community, I realize some people are short of a paycheck, maybe loss of a job, a layoff, and I don't think you should be punished because, some unforeseen situation happened and occurs in your life and then it's out of your control.
As a matter of fact, I never even heard of that before, the criminalization clause. I think that the people that propose that needs to go they need to go to jail for proposing something like that.
The best day of our lives, I think, was when the city council succumbed to the threat. I don't know what did it. I think it was a combination of things. I think it was the fact that they were characterized throughout the country as the absolute worst city in the country. They felt so much pressure from all of the things that we did. The threat that Tom had given them in the meetings of a federal lawsuit.
We're not going to let you disrupt what we're doing here. We want you to participate. If you want to stand up there and watch and engage us, that's fine.
Listen, I don't walk into your law office if you don't want me there. You're not here for business. You're here for personal reasons. I'm asking you politely, please, go to the sidewalk. Don't try to agitate. I know that's what you're doing. Your intentions are good, but they're misguided. You're distorting the facts. You're creating unnecessary fear. So I'm asking you, please go to the sidewalk.
The ACLU and the Appleseed had said, we're going to join in that lawsuit. We're going to take you to court. It is not constitutional.
These laws are unconstitutional. You can't discriminate against people because of their economic background or their mental health issues. And so these are discriminatory practices. And not only will it cost, the solutions are costly, the legal fights become costly. So it really undermines, any kind of logical reasoning behind this.
And so they rescinded this ordinance that they had voted on unanimously. And they were going to change some things. Maybe we might not make this, if they have this shelter, they might not have to stay. Maybe they could just go if they wanted to. It was called a retreat. And Tom said it reminded him of Nazi Germany, the retreats that they had to go to. But here's another thing that happened before it was all over with. The homeless voted. One of the things that we did in Homeless Helping Homeless and in Food Not Bombs was we registered them to vote. They were eager to vote. They're interested in participating in community things. And so, when he ran for re-election, he lost.
I went to the winter shelter last year. I ate that food, and that food had me bleeding out my nose, my mouth, and I was running out my butt. And they called the ambulance, sent me to the hospital. When I went to the hospital, the doctor checked me out and everything. They told me that it was food poisoning. So you can't take no food in there. I don't go in there.
As of today, we'll be operating an inclement weather center when the weather drops below 40 degrees, based on our assessment at 12 o'clock on the day. We'll be opening this center.
So no one else's forecast matters. It's the National Weather Service that we're looking at to get that number. Is it 40 and below for that given evening?
So if it's 41 degrees and raining, shelter's closed. And there have been several homeless people that have died in the real cold weather.
The problems are unseen problems that they don't see. A lot of people have the concept of out of sight, out of mind, and that doesn't take care of the issue. Transitions is a place where we can go in the daytime for the ones that are out on the street. But at the end of the day, at 5 o'clock, they close the shelter for those that are not inside clients. If you're outside client, you have to leave. Now, on the 23rd of December, I'm gonna give you an example. The library was closed, and that's where a lot of homeless go. And also on the 23rd, it started to rain. Not hard, but continuously for about a day and a half. Once Transitions had their quota of people and they couldn't take any more, and there was no storage space, you were not allowed to come inside Transitions with your belongings, with your knapsacks, with your suitcases. So that forced them right back out on the street with their knapsack and their belongings, which became saturated. Now at 40 degrees and below, your stuff can't dry out. And it's 41 degrees and the winter shelter ain't open. So now you're out in the element. So we brought this to the mayor's attention and he says, so, okay, now he understands.
Without you coming to speak, there's really no one there from Homeless Help and Hopeless who come. Now I'm trying to think if there's been anyone in the last few years who's actually just come and talk about the temperature issue. That hasn't been an issue that's been raised. So unless it's an issue that you bring to us, we don't know that if it's 40 or 42 or 45. So that dialogue that you maintained for quite some time was important. It informs the discussion of that. But for it, it's easy for people not to see, if that makes sense.
We are a purpose, a collective voice that cries out for truth and yells, "Fuck the consequences, I will be heard." It's time to stop holding our hands out for the handcuffs. Stop stretching our necks out for the noose. It's time to stop giving in to that all too convenient excuse that one person can't make a difference. Because where there is one dissatisfied soul, there are many. Look at Egypt, look at Libya, look at Syria, look at South Africa, now look at America. As Americans, we've become too complacent. We're too happy being sheeple in a nation governed by a people that continuously feed us lies.
We were serving at Lake Eola every week, trying to on Mondays or Wednesdays, normally a soup, rice and beans, some vegetables, and we were approached by the cops and being told that we were not allowed to serve there. We were told we needed a permit, that we were an eyesore to all of the apartments around the community. We completely disregarded that with the fact that we were serving probably 50 plus people, and continued to serve, and we were arrested within the next week because we didn't have a permit. We had other volunteers from Food Not Bombs come and bail us out of jail. Probably 8 volunteers were arrested at a time over the fact that we feel that food is a right, not a privilege. We had finally gotten volunteers to actually donate. People were donating money, so we could save up to buy permits. So people would buy a permit every week. And when we would run out of permits, then that's when we would get arrested. So about 2 to 3 times we were arrested within a year, just because we didn't have a simple little permit that said, hey, we can serve food here.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! See you Monday! We love you, dog!
Someone wouldn't elect Buddy Dyer into office, who is our current mayor, if he didn't get off our backs. So then he was like, hey guys, so sorry, you can serve outside of Orlando City Hall or whatever, and now it makes him look like they're serving outside of Orlando City Hall. Wow, it must be City Hall's doing. Kind of, you see where that comes into play?
Oh, look at all the people going to work as if marching off to war. They pass by me, but don't see me. As if I am a figment of my imagination. Later they march off to party and still don't see me. I must be a figment of my imagination. I was homeless for about 5 years. You really don't keep dates, you know. Before being homeless, I was a Navy veteran, and then I was a heavy construction pipe welder. Very good job, very high paying. Wife, 4 daughters, you know, a blue collar dream. Home, 5 acres. I mean, had it all going my way. And then 93, my wife was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer. And things kind of got to her, and one day she kicked me out. And I just ended up in the streets of Columbia, you know. Didn't know what to do, kind of fell apart myself after all that. And, you know, it really took a while to get back together. My health got worse and worse, and one day I'm in the hospital, and some good people from the USC School of Medicine's Supportive Housing came into my room. They said the doctor informed them that if I had spent another winter out in the streets, I wouldn't survive. And so they managed to arrange for me to get an apartment through the Columbia Housing Authority, which I am retired on Social Security. I do pay most of my rent, but they do help me with the electric bill. I'm very happy they came along, and it was with the encouragement of the people of Homeless Helping Homeless that first made me realize that I was worth living like a regular human again. That, you know, that I did matter.
I tried suicide twice. I've been raped twice. God took my best friend from me, which was my father. My mother wasn't worth a quarter. Now I ain't got neither one of them. And all I got now, I can't even find my own soul right now. Yeah, I have seizures. Yes, I got high blood pressure. Yes, I'm a diabetic. But that doesn't say I'm not as good as the next person. I want to work, but my work is limited. Right now, my faith is so small. A half of a mustard seed. A mustard seed ain't but so big. But somewhere, he sent me somebody like you to give me that hope again.
I'm here, baby.
I just wish people care.
I wouldn't say I'm homeless, but I refuse to go back home because my family don't believe me in couples staying together if not married. And I refuse to be away from Jessica and let Jessica stay out here and go. So that's why I'm out here. And she'll tell you. My journey is, once I finish the class and start work, it's a good place. So she won't have to worry about being out here.
Give me the tour. I want to see.
Right behind you is the bedroom.
Okay.
And this is our little small living room. And my little stove with my oven. Yay! And da-da, the toiletries. And this is 2 more beds back here.
How do you feel, baby?
I feel wonderful. I feel great. I feel like a queen. Yeah, on the top of the mountain. So we've come a long ways from sleeping in the park to a roof over our head.
Y'all eating for days. We brought you some food too.
Good. I found a place to put it.
Where were you about 3 weeks ago?
I was down and depressed, worrying about where my next meal was coming from. Where was I going to take my next bath? Was I going to be safe? Now I don't have to worry about that anymore because God made a way. Because my faith was down so small, but now it's way up here. All I had to do was just keep believing. I had almost gave up hope, but God wouldn't let me.
My friends wouldn't let me. I thought I was all alone, but I wasn't. You just have to open yourself up and learn how to trust all over again. We've been here for 1 week so far. Next Monday up until Thursday, we'll be at a motel for Kevin. Start his classes for his job in Jenkinville, working at the nuclear plant. Thank you, Lord. They pay him for classes. And then after that, he don't have to put a week in a hole. He gets his check straight out that next week. So, and then we're gonna find a place that's closer to the job in Jenkinsville. So I'm searching now, but right now this is home. We have to bounce around a little bit just to stay steady, but I'm not worrying about sleeping outside.
Today is July 20th, my first day at nuclear plant in Jenkinsville, South Carolina. On my way into the gate, as I checked in, I ended up having to turn around because they closed the plant down. SC&G and a couple other companies backed out their contract. So now we all are unemployed. So now it's put us back to where we started from, looking for a new job. Went from working with the nuclear plant to working with the landlord to now sitting looking out the window with nothing to do. Can't even pick up a broom and sweep the floor. Well, I got hurt on my current job. What happened was the landlord trying to get this big concrete pipe loaded. He put it forward and came forward, and the pipe went to come toward me, and I see it coming. I pushed his door out of the way so the pipe wouldn't hit her. I couldn't get away in time. Now I had 20 stitches in my leg, got two open wounds in my leg, not able to use my right leg. Well, how do I feel about being here is, it's like going from a grown man back to a little baby. I would just like to say that people need to realize and learn one thing: don't give up. Like my grandmother always say, just hold on, change is gonna come.
My drug use is what caused my homelessness. I've stayed in faith-based programs, also veteran-sponsored programs, and it's been a revolving door. But I don't use hard drugs anymore. I still drink and smoke cigarettes, okay? Since then, I slept on park benches, sidewalks, concrete. Finally, after so much of those controlled environments and situations where you're out in the element, I said, come on, John, you got too many camping skills. You've had 10 years in the military, 5 of them stationed with the Marine Corps. You were a scout master, you were a Boy Scout. Time to do an upgrade. We had a flood a couple years ago. I'm like 17 feet above the creek. By the time I got out here to this area, the water was still up about here. So basically my campsite was underwater. I had 3 entrances that I used. This is the major entrance, but when the Gamecocks have a football game, there's a lot of cars parked out front. I use one of the trails that's not so cleared, but it's pretty secure. Like I said, I prefer a campsite by myself. I don't have a problem with snakes or nothing like that. Every now and then I get a couple deer come through, raccoons and possums, little 4-legged critters, my friends. People can be very complex creatures, so a lot of times I prefer to keep to myself. In short, I'd rather live amongst the 4-legged critters versus the 2-legged morons. And this is my little home. I have like a queen-size bed, 13, 14 blankets, 6 or 7 pillows. I got plastic bins where I got my clothes in. That's my junk box over there, and a baseball bat for protection. When I first set up my tent, I even had electricity. I took a car battery and an old lamp, okay? Spliced it, positive, negative, so forth and so forth. And basically, I've been back here, like I said, for 3.5, almost 3 years, 9 months. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people got this stigma or this stereotype of what a homeless person looks, sound, and act like. Then when they meet somebody like me, they say, well, you don't look homeless. And I'm saying, what's a homeless person supposed to look like? You see? So if anybody should know about stereotypes, it should be black and brown people. Because we've been stereotyped enough. But when I'm out in the community and I hear a person speaking badly about the homeless, they simply don't know, because there's more than one category of homelessness.
The McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act was the first major federal legislation enacted to address homelessness at the national level. And it's the main source of federal funding to this day for HUD to provide assistance to communities to serve homeless people. So it includes HUD, it includes the right to education for homeless children, it includes the right to use vacant federal property to serve and house homeless people. It includes health care for the homeless. So it's an overarching piece of legislation that was first enacted in 1987, and it's grown and changed since then, but that's what it is. And it was supposed to be the first step for the federal government to address homelessness, and it's remained the major and only step.
President Donald Trump's proposed 2018 budget cuts funding for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development by about $6.2 billion.
I think my favorite response when anybody asks me about the waiting list is to talk about what happened on July 21st and July 22nd in 2016. We had not had the waiting list open for 8 years, and so we decided to open it up again, and we opened it on July 21st at 9 o'clock in the morning. And we closed it at noontime on Friday. So it was Thursday morning to Friday at noon. We were only open for 27 hours. The Housing Authority accepted 32,166 applications in those 27 hours. We would only select randomly by a computer 3,000 applications. The other thing is we used to have 2,500 units of housing, but we've tore down 3 complexes. We tore down the Celia Saxon complex, we tore down Henley Homes, which is on Rosewood Drive, and we just tore down Gonzalez Gardens, which is on Forest Drive. So we've lost 980 units of housing in the last 10 years. We have built back new housing, but not as much of it. And there's a couple reasons for that. Since 1995, the Department of Housing and Urban Development has not given us any money to build housing. Now, I'm making that statement that we did get some with the stimulus money that we were able to build 50 units of housing. But in general, public housing development funds have not been produced since 1995. We have not had the opportunity to even apply for it. But the bottom line gets to the availability of housing, which is probably one of the reasons why we've got such an economic crunch going on in Columbia right now. In 2014, the City of Columbia changed its zoning regulations to allow student housing for the universities, particularly the University of South Carolina, changed it so that housing could be built off campus within 3 miles. Previously, you could only build student housing over 3 miles from the main heart of campus. So you saw a lot of development out the Bluff Road area. What's happened in the last 3 years, and by August of this year, there will have been private developers coming in to build 5,000 units of student housing in the downtown area. You built a student housing there that had 850 units of housing in the former SCE&G building. Well, that's really good, but what happened is that those units are now renting for $800 a month. 3 years ago, our one-bedroom unit housing was renting in this area for $550. So it's gone up $250 a month, and that's plus utilities. We were doing $550 and that included utilities. You know, our program participants are not being able to find the housing because we don't pay. The maximum that we can pay for rent and utilities is $750 a month per HUD guidelines.
The new Trump administration plan would raise the rent for people living in public housing. The proposal from the Department of Housing and Urban Development would impact 4.7 million families who use federal housing assistance. It would also triple rent for the poorest households and allow public housing agencies to impose work requirements on tenants.
What needs to happen is there has to be a requirement that when you're building luxury housing, you've got to also create housing for extremely poor people, because for one thing, when you're building this housing, you're displacing people who live there. That's gentrification.
Without a permanent address, I can't get food stamps. Without a permanent address, I can't get my government benefits. I can't even apply for my disability benefits. It might be from my work or whatever, because I've lost my housing and I don't have any address. Why can't you create a law, create some tax breaks, create some zoning changes or whatever, that we can build housing for the homeless? We're just not building any affordable housing at all.
When you are homeless, it is hard to get a job. Because, you know, what's your address? Well, see that stairwell over there? You're not getting the job. When you have no address, getting just a decent, regular, scheduled job is virtually impossible. And I wish employers would realize that, you know, homeless people do have alarm clocks. They got the telephones. They'll get to work on time. They're very hard working. You see what some of these guys do for these day labor places, day after day after day. And so, you know, just because I don't have an address doesn't mean I'm not a good employee. It just means I'm in a bad situation at the moment, and this job can take me out of it. As simple as that.
The way they look at it, like, well, evidently they out here, they want to be. I don't know nobody that when they was in school throwed up their hand and said, I want to be homeless. That's my career choice, you know. I don't recall nobody ever saying that.
I've seen people do all type of things for their phobia or fear of the homeless. I remember one day I was crossing the street, and it was like, well, it came to an arrowhead, these people that were walking, and they just literally turned and just started coughing, like, you know, and that would deter me, you know. If I was a bad guy and you started coughing because I don't like germs, that would deter me. I'd flee and run the other way. But anyway, I mean, people do, I mean, and it really shouldn't be, because we're all the same. I mean, it's just you have a paycheck, or your degree might have taken you further than my degree. You know, I mean, it's just, but in all actuality, we're all the same.
When I would come up out of my tent, I would carry my knapsack and everything, and I would walk down to Mercy. I would see some of the business people on the way to work, and I would say hi to them. Very few would say hi back, because I'm outspoken like that. Now, I would go down to Mercy, take a shower, change clothes, put up my knapsack, and walk down that same street. Then I would say hi again. Those same people would start saying hello to me. So once again, it goes back to that stereotype. They try to go ahead and act like they're not being judgmental, but they are judgmental. So a lot of people like to think that if they don't see you, then the problem is solved, even though the problem is in their face.
Most of the people we talk to have never, ever talked to a homeless person, and they're amazed. Oh, gosh, these people are intelligent. These people are real people. And one time we were we were talking somewhere, and one of the people said, well, what can we do to help? And Charles, one of our most active members, said, you know, one of the simplest things you can do. He said, when you see us on the street, just look us in the eye. Don't turn your head, because we're human. And when we're on the bottom, we just want to be acknowledged. We just want to be treated like we're human.
I created this documentary to show you all what the richest country in the world really looks like behind the scenes. It's time to put a face on homelessness, and it looks like all of us. So let's be the change we want to see and fight to end homelessness and the stigma of homelessness. It all starts with us.
We are the only library within the state of South Carolina to have a social worker. I'm not sure about the Southeast, but it's a very emerging trend where we're finding that they're kind of coming. There's some in San Diego or San Francisco, up north. There are social workers that are emerging in libraries. A lot of it does begin with individuals experiencing homelessness. You know, we don't have boundaries, right? If you go into certain offices, you have to make at least this much income, or you can't make more than this amount of income. We don't have that. We don't require a library card. We don't require residency proof. If you're able to walk into our office or call us on the phone, we will do our best to provide assistance for you. And being able to remove those boundaries has been one of the most rewarding parts of my career.
Our Supreme Court approved our plan for our municipal homeless court, but it's limited just to offenses that occurred in the city of Columbia that normally would have been tried at the municipal court. So we're talking about offenses like trespassing, sleeping in garages, disorderly conduct, or alcohol in public, things of that nature. We get our clients referred to us from local service providers. We also get a lot of referrals from Transitions, which is where the court is housed. It's the largest homeless shelter here in Columbia, and we hold court there on the last Tuesday of every month. So it's a little more comfortable for our applicants to be in a setting that's not so formal and that's not associated with, you know, your typical criminal justice setting.
We don't want to unhinge someone by a 30-day jail term, which they then lose their job, they lose their apartment, or they get a fine that basically wipes them out, does the same thing because their expenses are not, there's not a lot of buffer in there. So you get a court fee or you get some kind of fine that could actually unhinge you from your housing effort.
The city of Fort Worth has decided to help homeless people get back on their feet by hiring them to clean up. The city will pay them to pick up litter. They'll get a chance to start over.
We specialize in housing homeless vets right here in Kansas City using the tiny house model. And right here off 89th and Troost, we've got 49 houses and 49 vets set to move in.
One of the fastest growing areas of the homeless community are women with small children, okay? And a woman's needs on the streets are greater than a man's. Even though there are more men on the street right now, this community of women is growing.
Some of the temporary fast solutions involve things like having outdoor toilets so people can have a place to go to the bathroom. I mean, that's ridiculously simple. But some of the long-term solutions are people getting a living wage. The people that we know that work have minimum wage, and you cannot live on minimum wage. You can't have a place to live and have food and medicine on a minimum wage, especially if you have a family. You just can't. There are a lot of people we know that have minimum wage and don't have enough to eat.
City councils have created task forces on how to end homelessness. Well, those committees should be staffed by a number of people who have experienced homelessness, not just experts or policy people or service agencies. You need people who have been there.
We just offer another option. We'll offer healthy solutions. Like my wife is a yoga instructor and she teaches yoga. I'm a karate instructor, so we'll use karate and the principles of karate to help introduce them to a healthier lifestyle.
I think we need more family shelters, and family, meaning mom and dad and the children, because we have family shelters, but they exclude dad. Then we have family shelters and they exclude children over the age of 13. So if our goal is to help and keep families together, we need to look at those stipulations that we put out there.
What I personally looked at was a possibility of investigating the potential of converting abandoned malls. I mean, there's a large volume of malls that are available around the United States that are just structurally just falling apart. One particular store can be used for medical needs. Another store could be used for educational needs. Because malls in general are at an epidemic level across the United States of closing, and municipalities are just allowing them to sit there, conceptually take them, make them into usable facilities where the homeless can actually come in and utilize the resources once they're established.
The federal government actually is required to make unused property, including buildings and land, available to nonprofits working to house and provide services to homeless people for free. Yes. Nonprofits can be private nonprofits. They can also be state and local governments. And there are examples. There are over 500 such properties around the country. But, this law has been in place since 1987, and 500 is like a drop in the bucket. There should be a lot more. The federal government owns a lot of property.
Just building a one-bedroom house, the people with the skills. I mean, most of the skills out here is on the street. You got the carpenters, the electrician, the brick mason, the sheetrock man. You even got some people out here that can read blueprints, and they're on the street for whatever reason. So all the skills out there. Most of the jobs that get done, especially here in Columbia, all these places that they're building, most of them are built by the homeless. To be honest, because you go to the labor pool and you get these people. These are the homeless people that go to the labor pool. They're the ones with all the skills. So basically they're building your city, but you want to get rid of them. If you do, you done lost your labor force.
Take one homeless person and one rich person, put them in a rainforest and tell me who's gonna last longer. A judge, a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever. Donald Trump, put him out there and see if he'll survive.
Instead of bringing people down here to take a survey of how many homeless people that are in the city, that's not helping us. Bring us some people from these agencies that can come down here and get a count of who wants to work and who doesn't want to work.
I want to get back to, having me a car. The little material things, being with my family, my daughter, seeing my daughter every day, being able to even retire, or like I said, have my own little restaurant, maybe one on this side of town, one on you might as well capitalize both sides of town. And go ahead on, and I know the food's going to be good. So that's what I'm striving for. I can only think for what I want to try to do now. It's up to me to try to do it.
I think it's also incumbent on us all to put pressure on our government, because the government is supposed to be us. It's supposed to represent us. And we've got to be the pressure that gets their attention. We can write to our members of Congress saying we support this, we need affordable housing, we have a crisis of homelessness and affordable housing. We want you to support this bill. We can do the same thing at the state and local level.
And I hope that this video gets into the hands of the people that can make a difference and those who want to make a difference, because this is a battle of our lifetime. I remember Martin Luther King Jr. telling me that this is part of the unfinished business of the civil rights movement. And so I hope people will see it as that and get involved in a way that we can really change this issue.
You are divine beings, and I wish for you to see things from that perspective. And I'm going to make it. I'm definitely going to make it, and I'm sure that you can too. Thank you.
So much drama in the world today. Had to call, make sure you're okay. You're stressing out about your job. No one sees you working hard. So-called friends don't soothe your pain. Stab you in the back, smile in your face. So I just call so you know that I am here for you. Yeah, yo, had to call, hope you get this message. Ain't no need to question. I believe it's destiny, wrestling with the guess that people change. My best friend, we could be estranged, but what do we gain? Feeling pain cause we're losing touch. A conversation on my brain, just the two of us. These text messages don't do enough. When we had trust, we didn't have no walls. That's why I had to call. I just had to